Hello and welcome to the Livable Cities interview series, where we engage in conversations with changemakers from around the world. Today, I am joined by Gil Penalosa, founder and chairman of 80 Cities and hashtag Cities for Everyone. Gil, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us today. Let's jump right into our conversation, shall we?
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
It's obviously a pleasure to have you with us, Gil, and thank you once again for giving your time to us. Now, we know that you've been an absolute and passionate advocate for livable, equitable, and sustainable cities of the future around the world. But what inspired your commitment to livable and equitable cities, and what sort of challenges have you faced in promoting these concepts globally?
Well, I think that one of the biggest challenge is the resistance to change. Things are not working very well in most cities, and they're not, but they are built that way because someone is benefiting, and those people do not want to change. When we think about cities that we have done in the last 50 years, most of the cities around the world that we've done in the last 50 years are not really good for mental health or physical health, are not good for climate change, are not good for mobility. So it's are not really good. Most of them are pretty mediocre. So we need to improve the cities that we have today, and we need to create radically different cities where people of all ages and abilities and backgrounds can live healthier and happier. That's what a livable city would be.
Like you said, a city should be for everyone. So how do livability and equity intersect, with the concept of sustainability when we're talking about master planning cities? And, what sort of strategies should we be employing in order to achieve all of these three goals, to make sure that we have our cities of the future for the future generations?
I think it's very important. Equity is critical because the reality is that within the same cities, some of the healthiest people are living there, and also some of the unhealthiest people are living in the cities. And the cities could be amazing because that's where people want to go, because in cities there are more jobs, but also more parks and green areas and mobility, and it's exciting and playful. But nevertheless, some people are not having that chance. Just an example, some cities might say, oh, we have 30% tree canopy. That for warm weather, the tree is amazing because it provides shade and lowers the temperature. And when it rains, it absorbs the water. But when we have citywide averages might be 30%, but the wealthy neighborhoods might be 50%, the low income neighborhoods might be 5%. So we need to have equity on all of this, That's why I think it's absolutely critical. And the example of the tree canopy deals with equity, deals also with sustainability, and deals also with being playful. So this issue is completely interrelated. It's what I call urban health under three big pillars: the social, the nature, as well as the healthy part, but physical and mental health.
Absolutely. But also in terms of creating livable and sustainable cities, we always come across these kind of urban and complex challenges, and we always need to address these systemic barriers, if we want to call them. But in your experience, Gil, what are some of these barriers to improving the core of livability of the cities, and how can we actually overcome them?
Well, first, I think we need to decide on cities, how do we want to live? For example, if we want children to walk to school, we need to do small schools so that the catchment area is small. So we need to decide, how do we want to live? That is the most important question in creating a plan for any city of any size. And I think the biggest barrier is some NIMBYs, people that don't want change. But usually these are tiny minorities, but are very loud. And the media provides them a big microphone. So what happens? The squeaky wheel ends up getting the oil. So politicians do what these tiny minorities, but with a big mouth, are saying, instead of doing what is good for everybody. I think we need to have very clear that the public good must prevail. over the particular interest. So that has to be an absolute priority.
So, Gil, one of our greatest future challenges, and I think it's also something that's prevailing at the present, is creating cities that generate economic, environmental, and social value. But what role, according to you, can policy changes play in supporting the urban infrastructure of these cities?
When we talk about equity and sustainability, it's completely interwoven into economic development and into economic success. Something that is very important today is that if people are good at anything, if you're good at making coffee or at repairing cars or in computers or a good teacher or nurse or medical doctor or university professor, good at anything, you can live anywhere. Not anywhere in Dubai, anywhere in the world. So one of the biggest challenge for cities is how to retain their best people, how to attract the best people. And I think that now and even more over the future, the number one challenge of cities competing is with other cities on how to retain and attract the good teacher, the good nurse, the good professor, because then they're going to be good for businesses. Businesses will want to set up headquarters wherever it's easy to attract the best people possible. So I think that they are completely interwoven. The best people, they want to work in cities that have parks and green areas and is good for nature and has good public transit, where their children can go to amazing schools and that are playful. So this equity and sustainability is not instead of economic development. Quite the opposite. They are a prerequisite to have economic development. Economic development, for cities to thrive, they must be equitable, sustainable, and playful.
Absolutely, very well said there. And lastly, Gail, we know that children or the next generation are at the heart of the livable cities. But what, according to you, needs to be incorporated when thinking about cities for our future generations?
I think children must be a top priority. But also, I think that a top priority must be the people over 60. We are living longer in Dubai and everywhere. Every country in the world has more than doubled the life expectancy in the last 100 years. This has been absolutely amazing. Over hundreds of thousands of years, we have reached about 33 years was the life expectancy. Now it's becoming close to 80. So the quality of life of the people over 60 is really, really critical. But of course, children. Children are the future, and we need to take care of the children, because in many ways, if a city is good for children, it's going to be good for everybody. And not children in general. Also, we need to think of the small children, the 0 to 4, because in those 48 months, the first 4 years of their life is when the brain is formed, the muscles, the bones, everything. So if the children don't get love and affection and access to nature and physical activity and nutrition, that is, in those 4 years, is the largest incidence on the quality of life for the next 86 years, if they're going to live 90 years. So we need to make sure that in the cities, that children, for example, from the point of view of mobility, children should be able to walk or bike to anywhere, to their friend's house, to the school, to the park, and so on. From the point of view of mobility, children who should have, every kid should have a park within walking distance from the place where they live. So children must be a priority, and the reality is that most of the cities are not very good for children. I mean, I just asked you a question. Imagine I think that a neighborhood that is good for children is a neighborhood where a child on a tricycle or on a wheelchair can safely and joyfully go anywhere. Unfortunately, most of the neighborhoods that we have been doing in the last 40, 50 years, that doesn't happen. And there is absolutely no reason. That is really low bar, but still we're not meeting those. So we should really need to focus. Some cities are building cities as a Disney World for the 20 to 50 healthy and wealthy. No, That doesn't work for the children. That doesn't work for the older adults. I'm the founder of 80 Cities, and we say, if everything we did in our cities, the sidewalk, the crosswalk, the school, the library, the park, the buildings, the restaurants, everything had to be great for an 8-year-old and for an 80, not 8 to 88 and 80 as an indicator, because if it's good for them, it's going to be good for everybody, from 0 to over 100. We need to stop building the cities as if everybody was 30-year-old and athletic, and build cities for everyone.
Absolutely. Very well said there, Gil. And I'm excited that, we will be continuing on this conversation that we had today at the LiveableCitiesX event and at the Livable Cities Summit, which is obviously taking place from the 26th to 28th of November, 2024 at Dubai World Trade Center. And I'm so excited that this conversation is going to be an ongoing conversation to see how we are building and obviously developing our cities of the future for the future generation. Thank you once again, Gil, for your time today and for joining me on this conversation.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you and everyone in Dubai late November.
Absolutely. It was absolutely a great pleasure. And likewise, we look forward to meeting you there. For everyone, thank you so much for joining once again and taking time to listen to us speak to Gil, who's joined us very kindly for this wonderful conversation. Please make sure to join the hashtag I am a city changemaker movement at LiveableCitiesX. Bye for now, and make sure to tune in to the video. Thank you so much.